Hi, good morning. Welcome back to another episode of Aviation Champions. I'm your host, Miranda Gahn, co-founder of Aero Aviation Law Firm. This morning, I have a special guest, Mark Monelli. He's the founder of Aero. Good morning, Mark. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. Well, it's great to have you in studio. Love to hear a little bit about your background in aviation and how it is you came to found Aero.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a long time. I've been talking to a lot of people about this, in my network, but it's great to meet with you and to go over it live and just really dive into my background, and so people can understand where everything comes from, where my motivations come from in the business, and why I started Aero. So about 10 years ago, after 10 years in e-commerce, I had a mentor that gave me a call and said, Mark, we started a business. Would you like to sell aircraft parts? And I said, well, that seems pretty interesting. I mean, if you're doing it, then it must be pretty great, because he was a very important mentor to me. He was MBA from Kellogg, just one of the smartest salespeople I've ever met. And so he led me into working with his fiance at the time, who left a trading company to start her own company. And we sat there and learned together. I went from listing everything online to making calls, right? Calling for quotes and just really learning all about this industry, which everything just happens one conversation at a time. It takes a lot of effort to really learn the industry. So luckily I had her and I had him by my side to learn through all that. And we started off selling wheels and brakes, one of the least complicated assets in the market, commercial. And, I did my first deal in 3 months. It was just a pricing mistake. And me and my mentor kept looking at each other, said, this will never happen again. This is not something that, could be repeated. And it kept happening for the next 2 years. And we turned to each other and we said, I think she's right. I think that this is going to be something that it's going to keep happening, and we're going to keep growing the company. And we started to look at landing gear records and really get involved with it. And once I started to understand it, we were buying and selling to the biggest names in the industry for landing gear aftermarket assets. And that really put me into an enterprise level sale very quickly, and got to be just working with the biggest names in aviation. And that is, how I got my start. A couple businesses later, I got into more of the fast-paced engine, QEC, LLPs, core material. And that was very refreshing, because landing gear, engines, and major assets is such a long sales process. But what that taught me was I had a lot of time to really go after the entire network of every MRO, every airline, every lessor in the commercial space at the time. And, now I'm looking to bring that experience of that networking, that systematic e-commerce understanding, to now provide a structured approach to bring my network and any prospective network that a client needs to the client. So I started a outsourced business development service where we have clients that are looking to sell material, they're looking to buy material, they're looking to just expand, to make sure they are covering the entire network of aviation for their specific product line or their specific service.
So it sounds like you leveraged all the things you learned in the past 10 years in the aviation industry in terms of like being kind of a parts brokerage, and then growing your network, and then kind of focusing it in Aero to help other aviation clients. Does that sound right?
Yeah, this is my fifth startup, finally being my own. And I kept thinking that, maybe now's the time I should start my own business. I should lean on what these mentors have taught me.
Well, what motivated you to start Aero?
Well, what motivated me to start it is, I really looked at, I've been outside the industry a few times, and I lost a lot of energy. It's really strange, but aviation gives you an energy, the opportunities, the people. They give you this feeling that it almost gives you a purpose behind your life.
Okay.
And, I went through all the challenges in life, and we all face them. I started listening to David Goggins. I started listening to Jocko Will Inc., I believe is his last name. And Eric Thomas was another big figure. His motivational, just short bites. I would just listen to them over and over and over again. Every challenge that I face, every obstacle that came in my way, and I would start, speaking with my network about the motivation and why I'm doing all this, so that these calls, they became less of a opportunity discussion, more of, hey, get to know me. I want to know you. I want, you to become part of my Alpha Club.
So it sounds like aviation was a passion, something that really ignited your desire to sell and work with other people. But it also sounds like there's a deeper level there for Future Aero, and that is you really enjoy the networking aspect, and it works really well for you and your clients. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I really do. And I'll give you an example. I have a partner. We call each other partners, but we just are colleagues in the industry and really work so closely together. We share all the opportunities, and we just really try to figure this industry out. This is so complicated, And I came to him before I started the client services model, and I said, hey, why don't you process the orders for me and do the logistics and the operations, and I'm just going to go out and get all the demand and all the supply in the market, and we're gonna make that delta. We're gonna build some cash flow with brokering.
Okay.
And he said, Mark, I've tried it. I believe you, but I just, it hasn't really worked out. I have a certain business model that I stick to, and it's just. I said, well, let's just try it. After a few weeks, he came to me and he said, Mark, I'm excited again. I didn't think I could feel this way again, but the conversations that you're having are really just inspiring. I said, yeah, that's the difference, right? I think if we can mentor future salespeople, right, and have the people behind them to, we're just not sit there quoting all day, just ask questions. What questions should I ask?
About
what
their
follow-up
needs,
should I ask? Right.
about your clients' needs. And
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about exactly what Future Aero does for its clients.
So with outsourced business development service, what that means is that, client will engage with me, whether it's, hey, Mark, we have this material that we're looking to sell, or we have this material that we're looking to buy, and we're having trouble moving it. Here's some of the challenges that we're facing. So what we do is we say, okay, for example, if you had a stock list that you wanted me to push to market. So
okay.
I would go out, and I don't need to know who you've been selling to in the past, right? I just go out and get it to as many parties as possible. And then once the parties start to return to me, they have interest and they agree on a pricing, then I say, hey, Miranda, this is so-and-so company. Let me introduce you to this contact. They're going to be performing the transaction with you directly.
Okay.
And that is different than the brokering model where I have a markup. So the agreement that we typically have in place is a percentage commission
with your clients.
With the clients, yeah. That, we have a percentage in place that, whatever the business needs, right? We'd like to have an open discussion. We don't want to have a hard and fast rule of what those numbers are. And yeah, it's really open right now, depending on if they want to do gross profit, if they want to do revenue. But what's interesting about it is the purchasing commission, right? That's never been done. No one's ever really paid to buy something. So I get a commission on buys because then the customer gets what they need at the right price. The client gets what they need at the right price, and they can put a tag on it or just flip it as removed. And now they have that asset that they need to fulfill their customer needs.
Okay. Really fascinating. So I'm just curious, based on your experience as a small business owner, having established several successful businesses, what do you feel like is a trend or a key to your success?
I think I've been very lucky. I've had some great mentors, and people have always just, given me a shot, put confidence in me. And, I think that's from, just industry leaders that I was lucky to be around. And now I think that everyone should try to use that example and become leaders, right? Instead of just, follow what everyone else is doing, try to become leaders. And the people that are still in that follower stage, ask their mentors like, hey, I'm struggling with this. I see that we're doing this work over and over again. How can I grow? Like, how can I get to, not really get to your position, but how did you get there? What was the conversations that you had, and the questions that you asked, right? Because I want to grow, right? I think that is what's missing a little bit.
So it sounds like mentorship is key to your success. And then not only, leveraging mentorship as you progress in your career, but becoming a mentor to others.
Yeah, I think that's the only path I think eventually we all have to take, is become leaders, because, with your military background, right, you would be someone that I look up to, right? Your experience, I was researching just how much it takes to become of your military rank and to become a Black Hawk helicopter pilot, and doing the show. And these are the levels of efficiency and discipline that, I think a lot of people are missing, and they want those leaders in their life, whether it's in business or whether it's just friendship, or,
right.
And that it really inspires me. So I'm really, happy to be here with you. And, I want you in my Alpha Club. You would be bringing me into your Alpha Club, of course, because, of your caliber of human being, and everything that you've done.
So complimentary. Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I would say your story is very inspirational, and it sounds like you really take to heart building that relationship, really prioritizing mentorship and leadership. And I think that that's what's driven so much success for you. If clients are interested, or the audience is interested in learning more about you and Future Aero, where can they find you?
Oh, excellent. Thank you. So it's futureaero.net is my website. We just got a bunch of great reviews on there. I actually helped out SmartLynx Airline at some point, and I think it was right early on in the beginning. I helped some people just find their career path, and one of the ex-employees left a great review for me, just how I helped them motivationally.
Sure.
And it's just a great read. Go to futureaero.net, and you can contact me at mark@futureaero.net.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Mark. We really appreciate having you on the show.
Thank you, Miranda. It's been a pleasure.